Hey everybody, welcome to the Bulls Tabletop Hour. I'm Adam Harry.
I'm Abe.
And today we've got some exciting stuff to go over today.
Yes, in the next hour on this tabletop.
Correct.
Yes.
We've got Titandeath.
We've
got our preview copy of Titandeath. I'm pretty pumped about.
I am, and we don't have to worry about Titans anymore after this, right?
Yeah, they're all dead.
They're all
they
gone.
just all dead.
They're all dead.
We got Titandeath. We also have some exciting 40k news, and then we have a JR appearance later in the show to talk about some exciting D&D stuff. So it's a pretty good time to be a gamer.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. So we're starting with Titandeath.
So Adam, like I heard there's no book for me out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this something I'm gonna like? Is this good news for me as a Titan here?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
What things do I get out of this book? Wait,
Yeah.
what's it called again?
Titandeath.
Wait, other Titans though, not me, right?
Well, sorry. Anyway, yes, Abe, Titandeath is coming. It is for Adeptus Titanicus, which is the Titan game from Games Workshop, which is I love it.
It's a great game.
Yeah,
possibly one of the better games they put out recently.
Yeah, it's for me it scratches that BattleTech itch, but with GW models, and it's just I like it.
See, you could tell which one of us got into gaming, especially miniature gaming earlier, because Adam, it scratches the BattleTech itch, right?
It does.
For me, BattleTech sketches the epic itch.
Okay.
It's the other way around. I'm a new epic video game that scratches my itch to play with Titans.
Yeah. For me, it's like this. BattleTech was the game that got me into tabletop gaming.
Right, and I've never actually played tabletop BattleTech myself.
Yeah, I have. That was that's where I got my start, and so I want that hex movement. Keeping track of your mech.
And for me, I've always liked spaceship games. And that's actually where I first got into with some of the older spaceship games.
Yeah.
Which functioned very similarly, in fact, to this, with weapon systems and facings and boxes and everything.
Yeah. Damage boxes.
Yeah. So,
and while Adeptus Titanicus doesn't have systems that are as complex,
it is not.
It's much more bookkeeping.
Right.
It still has similar things of those systems.
Yes.
That's why I like it.
No, I think it's a great modernization of those kind of systems.
Exactly.
It does have complexity. I think Adam, probably as a BattleTech player, really likes the heat mechanic that shows up, because that's reminiscent.
Definitely, yeah.
But it's a great.
Manage your heat or die.
It has more complexity than a lot of other games, but it is still definitely simplified.
We like to say it's a little bit more crunchy.
Yes.
Because it's a little bit more record keeping and things like that, but not more so than...
No, it's like a Kit Kat, not a Crunch Bar, right? It's got some crunch in it.
But
it's more than just it's more than just your Hershey's chocolate.
Yeah, it's not just straight wafer either.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so Titandeath. Mm-hmm. What this book has is, you probably all know by now, it's got 8 new legions, Titan legions to use. So 4 loyalist legions, 4 traitor legions.
All right.
Each legion is going to have its own legion characteristics, special war gear option, personality traits for the different Titans. It's usually 1 to 3 options for that. They also have stratagems as well, which work different than 40k stratagem. I know stratagems. I said
no. I just imagine now that are all Titans just one of the 7 dwarves?
Not quite.
I'm dopey warlord.
Well, it's cool that way too, and some of the legions have 2 stratagems, and some of them have 2 legion traits.
Okay.
So
they're not all the same.
They're not all 2, 2, and 1. Or
That's pretty cool.
They're 1, 2, and 1 or whatever. They're all slightly different. This helps open up the game, I think, a lot, because it adds that customization.
Right.
It's kind of lacking right now, because most of the time there's currently, without this book, there's only 2 legions to really play, and so you show up to the game night and you're like, oh, you're playing the same Legion I am. What did you bring? And because of the because of the way the models are built and because of the way the
game doesn't currently have a huge variety of models. There's
right.
a lot of
and there's stuff coming out.
There's stuff coming out. There's a lot of options on those models.
Right.
One Warlord Titan can be vastly different from
very
another
different.
Warlord Titan, but there is still a certain amount of customization that's added by having at least more options.
Exactly, and I think the 8 new legions really help with that. I also think that the maniples are going to help out with that a lot too, because it allows players to now field different maniples with different special rules, and really opens up. Like there's one maniple in particular that allows you to take between 3 and 5 Reavers.
Reaver's gonna read.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like we all know by now that Adeptus Titanicus, as a system, because of the way the Grandmaster Edition came out, the starter box didn't move as many units as I think GW would have liked.
Sure.
And I think my personal opinion is that I think their misstep was releasing the Warlord first instead of the Reaver. I think the Reaver, that is your main battle titan in this setting in particular. You don't see Reavers in 40k, like you don't see Warlords in 40k, but that all ties back to where this book is said, which is Beta Garmin.
I mean,
but at the time, Reavers were the main battle line.
I mean, I feel that if you were looking at now, obviously putting out the Warlord, it's big, it's flashy, it's the big model. That's definitely a cool move. But I think if you wanted to look at purely what makes like a better box set, honestly, probably Reavers and Warhounds would have made a more interesting starting point.
I even think Reavers and Knights would have made it more interesting, because then the Knights don't feel as underpowered versus the Warlord. That said, we have played games where the Knights were the swing that actually killed the Warlord at the end.
Well played Knights can definitely do it. Though I think most of those games it came down. Like that can happen if the Warlord ignores the Knights, and if you're playing,
if you kill the other guy's Knights, and then the Knights can suddenly run amok.
Right.
That's what happens. Which is, again, we've talked about this when the Warhound came out and the Reaver came out initially. But those two are not closer, but like I feel like if you have two players that want to get started, having a starter box that had Reavers and Warhounds facing off, or Reavers and Knights even facing off. Just something so they're a little bit more balanced towards the middle of the game versus the two extremes.
Exactly, and I mean, I think a box set or a starter box that had a Reaver and 2 Warhounds for each side, kind of thing.
Yeah, or even like two or 3 Reavers and then a bunch of Knights. I think could have worked. Anyway,
something. I mean, that's a bigger box set, though, right?
That is a bigger box set.
Like a cheaper, easier box set could have been a Reaver and 2 Knights, and or 2 Warhounds, and that's an interesting.
Yeah, GW, if you're listening, Reaver, the Warhound box, and the starter box. Should be a starter box bundle.
Could be a cool one.
Single player bundle right there with all the stuff you need. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about
Titandeath. So what is Titandeath for people who don't know? Why is it called Titandeath?
Right. So what happened in the Horus Heresy, this is why we don't see Titans anymore.
Said it somewhere around here.
Well, we do see them, just not as in the numbers. So basically, Horus sends his Titan legions to the Beta Garmin sector. The Imperium finds out, and they send their Titans to counter. And
Beta Garmin is kind of like the gateway to Terra. Like this is
like
the last line before they get to Terra.
So this is and it's cool. They have some really really cool maps in here. This
is a very beautiful map too.
There's actually a couple maps. Mars, where did you have is it down here? Mars is on the camera, folks.
Hey.
So I'm going to hold this here while she zooms in. But Beta Garmin, the sector, there's actually a couple of really cool art spreads about it, talking about the different sectors of Beta Garmin, as you can see there, different planets involved. But like Abe was saying, this was the doorstep of Terra, essentially. So these two massive, multiple legions of Titans show up in the sector and basically have the ultimate throwdown.
Right.
This battle, this string of fights is so massive that it actually cripples the Imperial Titan war machine forever. Yeah. The Imperium literally cannot recover. Neither can the Horus's Titan either. But the Imperium cannot replace the amount of material and Titan death that happened here, which is why we get the name Titandeath.
Right.
The battles are so massive.
This is
millions of tons.
One of, if not the biggest battle ever. Basically.
Basically, yeah. You thought Armageddon was big,
right? I mean, this rivals the like we know that the Battle of Tolarin during the Horus Heresy is the biggest armored conflict of all time.
Right.
This is the biggest Titan conflict.
This is the biggest Titan conflict.
Huge. Whoa. And if you wonder why they don't wait till they get Terra to use all the Titans, it's because it doesn't go well for the planet either.
Why didn't Terra show up? Why didn't they show up to Terra with a bunch of Titans? They all died here.
Yep.
And that's why this is such a pivotal one. There's pretty much every Titan Legion that was in existence during this time period in the 40k history fought at this battle. Most of them were destroyed or so heavily crippled. Night houses, same deal. Lots of night houses died. That's why there's a big list of night houses, but really in modern 40k, there's a dozen or so left that are actually quote active or not. But it's a really cool, lots of really cool lore in this book as well. Really pretty color spreads.
Yep.
And then we get into some of the Titan,
all the heraldry.
Heraldry. This book is great for that.
Here's the classic one, which we have, we drew
Ataris.
Yeah, which looks very similar to some of our Titans too.
Yeah. They're actually one of the legions that fought. Obviously, they're this is actually the legion I'm painting up.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy with it. But what's cool about this is we'll go through this real fast. I know it's kind of hard to see, but every Titan legion, we mentioned this, gets their legion traits. Some of them get one, some of them get two. They get legion stratagems. All of them get at least one special piece of war gear. Legio Ataris actually has special Inferno missiles that can blow stuff up and burn terrain, which is kind of cool.
The lit fam.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right?
There's four.
That's what the kids say.
That's what the kids say. I think they are the lit fam. There's also 4 loyalist legions, 4 traitor legions as well. Right. We mentioned that the maniples. There's 4 different maniples. There's a ton of missions in here too. If we want to touch on those real fast.
Yeah.
So after you go through all of the cool color plates, there's lots of really cool missions to go through as well. If you wanted to do a narrative campaign, this book is designed to help you kind of simulate the battles of Beta Garment up to the end game, which was just this basically massive throwdown. So you see the Titandeath. Yep. Tipping point on Beta Garment 2. And I think there's actually one called, Endgame. Yeah, which is just... Everyone dies. So
it's kind of like the end of Rogue One, right? Like
or Avengers.
Yeah, or Avengers.
Everybody dies.
Horse.
The horse
snaps his fingers and half the Titans are dead.
I'm pretty excited about that because it does open up a lot of opportunities for massive Titan conflict within the game.
And so, spoiler, the Imperium does lose Beta Garment, obviously, because Chaos...
It's a Pyrrhic victory.
Right, because Chaos does get to Terra. But, in many ways, Beta Garment is why... Not just why the Imperium was able to later win at Terra, but why Terra exists as a planet. Because all those Titans didn't fight on Terra and just destroy it.
Right. Terra is still whole because of the conflicts at Beta Garment. Like... If the Titans had made landfall,
and we've seen from other books and stuff that Titans want to wreck a planet, they can.
They definitely have the ability to.
They can cause volcanoes and stuff by firing at the right places, like
punching through the planetary crust and
not
necessarily coring the planet, but getting pretty close in some instances. But it's a really cool book if you're a fan of Adeptus Titanicus. I really think that GW said this is the first major expansion or supplement for the game, so we're hoping for more. They've also released some of the new Warlord weapon sprue, which you can now purchase separately. So if you have Warlord Titans and you want to swap those weapons, if you magnetize them, which they did design them to be able to do that, they built them with slots to be able to magnetize the arms, which is pretty nice of them.
Definitely nice.
Wish
they sold them with magnets.
Wish they did too.
Yeah, like it's the next step. Baby steps.
Yeah, they built them with magnets in mind. Yeah. They did not sell you the magnets though. We'll get GW magnets. They'll be like 10 times their going rate. But whatever.
They'll have a cool logo on them.
They will have a GW logo.
Or perhaps
it'll be like the top will be the GW, like the Imperial Aquila, and the bottom will be like
the Chaos logo.
The Chaos logo. Yeah, there you go.
It'd be so good.
GW. There's an idea for it.
Because it'd be positive, negative, right? Like positive would be Imperium, negative would be Chaos.
There you go.
Or would it be the other way around?
I don't know. And plus they wouldn't repel. Anyway. How do they work? How do magnets work, man? Anyway.
The warp.
Warp magnets. GW branded warp magnets.
Yeah, so hopefully this does good. Like we said, some people said that that Titanic has had a little bit of a rough start.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
it's funny too because I think, barring the rough start, I think the game now, because they have all the kits out, they've got weapon options coming out. They've got more Reaver. The second Reaver kit coming out with different options than the first Reaver kit. Mm-hmm. So the game is actually in a really cool spot. I love the models. I'm never gonna own a Forge World Titan,
right?
Because I don't have the space for it, and two, like they're like a
card down payment. And you never get to use them.
Yeah, it's a card down payment. But I can definitely afford one of these, and I have space for a night-sized model.
Yep.
In my collection, and I'm taking my time with them. It's a fun hobby project. I really like these models.
It's a fun game, and I think one thing to bear in mind about if it had a rough start or something is that 95% of games have rough starts.
Absolutely.
It's very rare, even for successful games, to have good starts. The first year of games, especially now, we see different things with games that use existing models, like Kill Team and stuff like that.
That's a little different because they have a foundation,
right?
Because somebody else has had the rough start,
right?
To launch those.
But pretty much every game that has a new models has kind of a rough start, or it looks like it, and the first year is always going to be slow.
Yeah, we like to say here around Bulls, if the game makes it to its second edition,
right,
that's when you know, like, okay, was doing pretty good.
So hopefully we get there. Now, speaking of Titan-sized 40K models, though, we also had another announcement today.
Did we?
Yeah.
What was it, Abe?
They've got kind of these weird heads, though they're not quite Titans. But we got the release, or at least teaser pics of the Funko Pops models. So
boy,
I'm glad they're putting out 3 Loyalist Marines and 1 Traitor Marine. For this.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
The Funko Pops.
We'll let you argue which one's a traitor.
Yeah. Hey. It's an interesting thing with the Funko Pops. I mean, it's a match made in GW heaven. I guess.
I think the funny quote that they said was like they had a quote from the person who like helped do it in like Martin. They were like they go. Like licensing comes to me and says we need to like make some small Space Marine models, and she's like, "Isn't that what we already do? Like, isn't that our entire business model?"
So
they're like a little bigger but cuter. Like,
it works.
Sure,
if you don't like Funko Pops, not everybody does, and that's okay too. They're not for you, but there are people out there that freaking love them.
They are,
and more power to you.
And this is a point I've been making for a while, though. Too is 40K is going mainstream. Certainly mainstream within geek culture.
Yeah.
And getting mainstream recognition because geek culture's gone mainstream as well. So, like, this is just another one of those things.
One more thing.
Where you're like, 40K is not this weird niche anymore within at least geek culture in general. It's getting Funko Pop stuff and all this weird other stuff.
We've been having video games for 40K for forever.
Forever, exactly.
There's more coming out every year, it seems like.
Yeah, like people know what 40K
Books,
is exactly. So
and now Funko Pops.
Yeah,
one more feather in the cap.
We're on the same level as Game of Thrones now, right?
Yeah, we're totally. Are we? Getting there. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so
I'm
the Funko Pops.
For a nice when HBO makes like a good 40K TV show,
that would be the day.
Get all that.
Oh. I'd settle for like
an Inquisitor,
Netflix.
like an Inquisitor night, like real grim, dark Inquisitor stuff.
I mean, think of the possibilities,
right? Like you wouldn't want to go. You don't need to go like big war all the time, but like
you can tell. There, see, that's the thing about 40K. It's such a massive universe. The grimdark universe is so massive. There's room to tell a lot of different stories. We've seen that. We've got the Warhammer Adventures, which is like kid stories, detective stories, which is one small part of the universe.
Oh man, if they made like a Saturday morning cartoon.
I'd watch it.
I'd watch that.
Even though they've pretty much
we actually talked.
Saturday morning
We actually talked the other week with the Gene Stealer Cult, their animated trailers, right?
Yeah.
Like it would be cool to see like 5-minute cartoon, little shows in that style.
And there's room to do that. There's room to tell murder mysteries. There's room to tell dramatic, political maneuvering stories because of the way the Imperium works as just a function of society. There's also tons of different planets at all kinds of different technological levels within the Imperium. It's really up to the writer. Like you can play around with it, and I think an HBO adaptation of some Inquisitor stuff would be
pretty sweet. Yeah. Speaking of 40K though, and Space Marines, we had some big news today.
Yes.
I can say anything in 40K is a game changer because it changes the game. Right?
Literally.
But Whether this will completely change the meta or not, I don't know, but it is a pretty big change for the game.
Yeah.
And that is
the Bolter rules. The beta Bolter rules.
Yeah.
The Space Marine book right here.
So we're getting moved from the beta Garmin rules to the beta Bolter rules.
Yes, this is the new. I see what you did there. Beta rule Bolter Discipline was just announced today on the Warhammer community. This apparently is going to have more of a full write-up in the February White Dwarf.
Yep.
But they wanted to talk about it today, so they put out the little, sheet of it, essentially. We have it on our website, too, if you want to check it out. I wrote this up this morning. We ran it. I did not... we didn't really write about some of the implications in that article. It's just we wanted to cover the announcement today. So right now, let's just read what it does real fast. So, Abe... If you could help me out with that.
So this is a rule that all Adeptus Astartes and Heretic Astartes models get.
Yeah, so again, Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines, essentially, if you have a Bolter, you need to be paying attention.
And this is not just Codex Space Marines, this is going to affect Death Watch, Grey Knights,
Blood Angels,
Dark
Space
Angels,
Wolves.
Space Wolves,
yeah,
all of that. Plus, it will affect
Thousand Suns,
Death Guard. So,
yeah.
Huge variety of things.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 armies, I think.
Yeah.
Just one or two. Just one or two units.
Minor.
Yeah.
So what this does, and instead of following the normal rules for rapid fire weapons.
Yeah. So you still have rapid fire.
Yep.
By the way, rapid fire rule works like this. If the target unit is in half your maximum range, you get to double your shots.
Yep.
Double your attacks.
Pretty easy.
Pretty simple. Everybody knows how rapid fire works.
Yeah. So rapid fire bolt weapons used with this ability. And they would go on to describe bolt weapons later, but it is what you would expect a bolt weapon to be.
Yeah.
Anything that
has bolt in the name, pretty much.
Yeah, or works like a bolt weapon, like some of the special characters' weapons are bolt weapons. They used by models with this ability double the number of attacks if any of the following.
Keyword underline highlight. If any of the following apply.
Right. So the firing model's target is within half the weapon's maximum range,
which is how it already works.
Yep. Or if the firing model remains stationary during its previous movement phase.
So it didn't move now.
Yep. Or if the firing model has the Terminator, Biker, Centurion, or Vehicle keyword.
Right. So there are now 4 instances. If you have a specific keyword, you're going to be able to double your shooting. Or if you don't move.
Yep.
Or on top of the standard rapid fire half range, you get double shots.
Yep.
Which is pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy. So this is only for rapid fire weapons.
Yeah, keyword, other things to pay attention to. It not only has to be a bolter type weapon, it also has to have the rapid fire keyword.
So nothing for heavy bolters or anything like that.
Yeah, no heavy assault, or pistol. Those do not get this ability.
But this is a pretty big change, a buff for Space Marines in a lot of ways, which it comes because they recognize that Space Marines and bolters are the iconic 40k weapon.
Yeah, I can't think of a more iconic weapon in 40k than a bolter.
A chainsword is the closest.
Yeah,
is the next closest thing. But honestly, the bolter is probably more iconic in a lot of ways, and more uniquely 40k because we've seen other settings where people use chain weapons before.
Right.
But a bolter is probably the most.
Bolter's probably the most
almost
iconic.
Like fetish-sized weapon in 40k, right? Like it is the most. There's so much writing about bolters and everything that they do.
Also, just like the image of a bolter with like the Imperial Aquila on it, or maybe like some skulls or whatever, something like that big blocky bolter. Like, it just anybody that has ever played 40k knows what a bolter looks like. Everybody that's been a fan of the lore, bolters also range back,
they go all the way back to the beginning. And even though they're not the only faction that uses them, they are iconic when it comes to Space Marines.
Exactly.
More than the chain sword, in fact, because the chain sword is used by many different factions.
Right.
Or they use a similar thing.
Similar weapons, but the bolters are just so iconically, and specifically on top of that, this buff, the bolter discipline beta rule applies only to Space Marines. So if you have guardsmen, a guard captain or something with a bolter, this doesn't even apply to them. This is specific to Astartes, whether it's Heretic or Adeptus.
And the other thing that's interesting about the bolter, it's not the only weapon in this one, but it's one of the weapons that hasn't changed in ever
for a very long time.
I don't know if the stat.
I think it's been basically strength 4. Yeah, and 24 inches
rapid fire
equivalent since forever.
The only change it's really gotten is the removal of the AP because they changed AP.
They changed AP,
which was a nerf to the bolter.
It was.
So they've recognized that basic equipped Marines are not necessarily, whether it's with bolter or bolter variants, are not necessarily performing offensively as well as they would like, which is something we've called out before. And
we both have talked about this a lot today because it was such a big deal. We both think that, yes, this was a good step to say, hey, bolters are not where they should be at.
Right.
One of the iconic weapons in the game is not performing up to snuff, and this is an attempt to say we are trying to work on that.
Right, and Space Marines in general are not necessarily performing where they should. So bolters got a nerf in 8th edition by taking away their AP. This is a good way. This is a way of trying to fix that. Trying to fix basic Marines in general and giving everyone an upgrade. So there's two things to talk about, I think, here. One, what weapons are getting better and how's that, and what units are being affected, and what does this mean in a grander scale. So let's talk about the weapons.
But before we do that, I want to mention one thing. This is a beta rule.
It is a beta rule.
Check with your opponent before you start using it on them. Make sure that they're clear what's going on.
Or your TO.
And secondly, because this is a beta rule, Games Workshop wants feedback about this. You can check our website. Mars, can you drop a link to that article in the chat, please? We have in the article the email to email GW about your thoughts on this, and be sure to use the correct title about your feedback. I believe it's Bolter Beta feedback or something. Beta Bolter Discipline feedback in your title when you email them, so they know like, oh, this is about that, and they're not just emailing us.
Don't title it my 50-page diatribe.
Don't.
My bolters.
That's what blogs are for. But anyway, so
what units got great because of this? So this,
Death Watch.
Yeah. So this is obviously going to increase all of basically our Marines, but I think Death Watch.
Let's start from the top. Let's go back. Let's take a step back. So, Tactical Marines.
They're better. Extra shot if they don't move. I think this is particularly useful if you're taking like 5-man squads with a heavy weapon that aren't planning to move at all. They can sit back, and this benefits them sitting in the back.
If you have some objective holders.
This is also a great one for scout units. If you're taking a handful of cheap scout units to sit in the back.
If you don't want to spend the extra points on scout rifles and that stuff, you can now just give them bolters. And at least they can, at 24-inch range, without moving, they now have 2 shots each.
It's not a huge benefit. A bolter is still just a strength 4 attack. But getting a few extra here and there is not a bad. It's never going to hurt.
Doubling your shots effectively is not.
It's definitely not going to hurt. So we've got those.
It's a dice game, right?
Yeah, it is.
More bullets is more better. More dice.
Intercessors.
Intercessors. Oh, so we were talking about this one a lot because, first off, intercessors have 3 different versions of the bolt weapon. They have the stock standard bolt rifle, which got obviously the biggest benefit from this.
Yes.
We'll get into more. They also have the auto bolt rifle and the stalker pattern bolt rifle. Now, to be perfectly fair, this rule does kind of screw over assault or the auto bolt rifle and the stalker pattern. And we'll get into that in a second. But let's talk about what it does do positively for the bolt rifle.
Yeah, for your basic bolt rifle guys, this is a pretty big deal. Their intercessors are not really an assault unit.
Nope.
They don't have a huge...
Unless they're Blood
Angels, but they're still not... They're still better assault units.
They're better, but they're better...
So they don't have a huge incentive to get close to the enemy.
Correct.
Other than grabbing objectives if they need to. So being able to sit back and double their shots at 30-inch range...
Yeah, that's the big thing about it.
Is pretty big.
And again, the basic stat line of that bolter, strength 4, 1 damage, but it's AP -1.
Yep.
And 30-inch range. So now... At 30 inches, you're now getting, on a 10-man squad, you're getting 20 shots, and which is really good.
And Space Marines are a good unit army for castling because they have so many aura buffs abilities within their army that getting a bunch of different auras and castling is a pretty viable stratagem.
Yes. If that unit with the lethality at 30 inches is next to a captain and a lieutenant,
it's great. Another thing to point out is with the Vigilus book.
Yes.
There's the new stratagem for bolt rifles in particular,
called Rapid Fire,
which is for veteran intercessors if you pay the command point. But it makes them AP2 or Rapid Fire 2.
Rapid Fire, and we double checked. It is not this one. It just straight up makes for the remainder of the phase Rapid Fire 2.
Yep.
So that means at maximum range, they're now getting 40 shots.
Yep.
which is pretty scary.
So that's much more likely because it was already a good ability, but having to get within half range, which 15 inches isn't that close, but you were much more likely that you were going to lose a couple models moving up, or or not be able to get everyone in and sacrifice some of that firepower. But now this means on turn 1.
On turn 1,
you're reliably
you don't move.
Yeah.
You spend the command point. I got 40 shots from this 10-man unit.
Yep.
And I can do that the entire time you're moving up on me.
Yeah.
And, if you wanted to double your firepower before, like Abe was saying, you had to get within that 15 inches. And even then, you were only getting 20 shots. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to get charged next turn, most likely. Yep. But now you can sit back and get a turn, 2, or maybe even 3 turns of shooting. I mean, if you get 3 turns of shooting, that's 120 freaking...
From a single unit.
From a single unit. Yeah. 120 shots... bolter shots is no joke. As Abe can attest, that can take out a Titan.
That can. It's a good benefit for them.
Yes.
Auto bolt rifles, I think, are pretty clearly not a good choice currently with this rule.
They just got hurt real bad
because they're if you don't know, they're 24-inch range, assault 2, strength 4, no AP. So they're slightly worse stats. They used to have the benefit of being both more mobile and being able to fire the 2 shots.
Because you could move and you could advance and shoot with a -1, which meant that you had an up to 12-inch move with a 24-inch range that you're still shooting 2 shots.
Good.
Which makes it pretty good.
Which is not bad. Yeah. And they had the ability of 24 inches away being able to shoot two shots.
Right.
So they had they had more shots at a longer range.
Yeah. You could essentially keep that 24-inch bubble between you and whatever you wanted to shoot, and you could play around in that distance and still be lethal out to those ranges.
But with these guys basically getting 2 shots out to 30 inches now, the auto rifle is still a slightly more mobile option.
Yes.
But if you're not really worried about mobility, which
you're going to castle like a Marine.
If you're going to castle, if you're not trying to... And again, once you get within 15 inches, it's back to being worse.
Yeah.
If you want to advance, it's slightly better. But again, Space Marines don't advance the whole time because they're not... It's a
typical Space Marine army is not built to do that. They're going to camp on the objective and they're going to shoot the pants off you now.
Yeah, which, you may advance on later turns to try to grab the objective, but you're not running forward trying to get into combat.
Right.
With a bunch of intercessors in general, so it's not a great option.
Yeah. Right.
And now they've lost that extra range. They're still, like a 3-inch range band or something.
It's a very slim
where they're better, but it's such a slim area.
Yeah. And the other option now, of course, heavy stalker pattern. The stalker pattern bolt rifle, which was heavy 1 to begin with, so that wasn't going to move. But they had a 36-inch range and AP -2.
They did have AP -2, but now
you're only getting 1 shot still.
Yeah, but now they weren't moving, so just taking a unit of intercessors that's not going to move that fills the same role, they're going to get 2 shots.
And I think the amount of damage or it's 40 shots with AP -1. I mean, Abe, would you rather take 40 shots at AP -1 or 20 shots even without this strategy? 20 shots at AP -1 or 10 shots at AP -2?
I'd rather take the 40 shots.
I'd rather take the 40 shots as well. In most cases.
In pretty much every case.
Pretty much every case, you're going to want the extra dice.
So those are kind of the baseline units that got better. But all those units still got better.
Yes. So that's the thing.
It's still good. Terminators now always get to fire their Stormbolters twice.
Rapid fire 2 weapons just got real scary. Especially on Terminators.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, especially on Terminators. Grey Knights got a buff out of
Grey
this.
Knights got a huge buff.
If they don't move, they can fire up to 24 inches, which is cool.
And they can apply the Psybolt ammo to those.
They can apply that. Terminators are always going to get to fire out to that range. That gives them a little buff. Mm-hmm. I think Terminators are still pretty bad, and I don't know that this helps them. But giving them more shots, it still is moving them more and more towards a tough range unit,
which is a weird.
Which is not traditionally where they've been. They've had They've traditionally had decent range, but really been more of an assault unit.
Right. With the Power Fist, you want to get them up there.
Right.
Anyway.
And now the Power Fist kind of sucks, and they don't have enough attacks to really make up for it.
Right.
And they're slowly, and perhaps they'll get
maybe
some
intentionally.
New
it's kind of push them. Up,
so definitely got that. Bikes also get it out all the way,
which is good and weird.
Yeah, I mean,
attack bike squads, we don't see those very often.
Cool.
But yeah,
cool. Yeah, vehicles. It's kind of a weird one for a lot of people. Centurions, which you can take Hurricane Bolters, which you should now, definitely.
Yeah, Hurricane Bolters went from Rapid Fire 6, which is pretty scary at short range, to now 12 shots at max range all the time.
Right.
Because you're Centurion.
Right.
It's pretty good.
Which is kind of weird because there's nothing in the Space Marine book. In fact, I don't know if there's anything, because I don't know if anything else gets Hurricane Bolters that doesn't get affected by this rule all the time.
Yeah, it's specifically the Centurions who got the bust, because the other things are vehicles, like the Storm Ravens have them.
Vehicles got it too.
Right, exactly. Right. Like Storm Ravens also can take them.
But I don't think there's any non... Well, I guess the only thing... I guess the Custodes with Hurricane Bolters don't get the benefit, because they're not Adeptus Astartes. They're Adeptus Custodes.
Oh, yeah. Take that, Custodes. Yeah. Ha! We do one thing better than you.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure that Bolter Discipline should even work on a Hurricane Bolter, because, that's a weird one. Here's this giant rack of bolters that shoots a lot of shots.
But they're very disciplined.
Very disciplined.
It's short, controlled bursts.
Yes, we've taught that rack to... good job, rack.
And maybe it's the Machine Spirit.
Maybe it's the Machine
Spirit. Programmed the Machine Spirit to... I don't know.
But yeah, anything that has a Hurricane Bolter got a nice little buff.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Will it bring Storm Ravens back?
No. But maybe Ironclad Dreadnoughts? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. It could be fun.
Another interesting one is both anything that had the choice of taking a Stormbolter or a Fragstorm launcher, which would be the Redemptor Dreadnought and the Repulsor.
Yeah.
I think it's very clearly now that you want to take the Stormbolter option.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn. I'm a little conflicted about this one, because I felt like the Fragstorm launcher was interesting.
Yeah.
It is a choice. 18-inch range, D6 shots. Okay. Now it's Stormbolter, 24-inch range, and 4 shots pretty much all the time because you're a vehicle.
So 4 shots at 24 inches is always going to be better than D6 at 18.
Yeah. I can't think of... Yeah. Even if you roll 6s the whole time.
Pretty much. I mean, if you roll 6s, but you're not.
You're not gonna...
The average is better.
Yeah, and the extra 6-inch range.
And the extra 6-inch range. So I think one of the things to bear in mind with this rule, which I'll talk about in a second a little more, is unintended consequences and how this throws off some of the internal balances in these books. But the units that got so a lot of units got slightly better.
We got to mention one army specifically that I think, other than Death Watch.
So there's 3 things that I think got really great. Death Watch, who get to take advantage of the special issue ammo, which is affected by this because they're still a bolt gun. So they're going to get extra shots, and they have really good shots.
Yes,
especially because they can go out to 30 inches with the extra bolts.
And you guys know the special ammo. We don't have to go over that.
So they got great. These guys, Thousand Suns, they're both
Rubric Marines and the Terminator, Scarab Assault.
Yeah, they're Inferno bolt guns and Inferno Commie Bolters benefit from this.
Yep.
So they're going to get extra shots at longer range, and they're definitely more of a ranged army.
Yep.
They are not good in combat, really.
No, but again, the Inferno Bolters getting those buffs is awesome.
Is big. So this is a big buff for them.
Big buff for them.
And Stern Guard veterans.
Yes, surprisingly. Well, maybe
because they have special ammo. They have -8. They have AP2 bolters.
Yeah.
They're going to get extra shots at longer range, and they're a pretty cheap unit if you don't go hog wild upgrading them to all have combi weapons.
Right, which you can.
But you're not going to get any benefit now. But
yeah.
The basic Stern Guard is not that much more expensive.
I guess not ironically, but Stern Guard and Death Watch are very similar.
They are very similar.
Which it makes sense that if Death Watch are getting better, then Storm Guard are probably getting better too. So Storm Guard.
Those are all units that you may want to be looking at moving forward. Death Watch don't have to do anything special. They're just going to be...
They're still great.
Yeah, if you were playing Death Watch before, they got better. Good job. If you're playing Thousand Suns, maybe look at more Rubric Marines. And if you're playing regular Marines, perhaps now is a time, especially with Ultramarines who got some buffs in Vigilus for Stern Guard veterans. Or veteran units in general. So with buffs in Vigilus, it might be time that you want to look at Stern Guard again. Or possibly you might consider Crimson Fist Stern Guards, getting that +1 to hit against larger units.
Crimson Fist Storm, I can see that.
Extra shots.
Don't the Imperial Fist get some bolter drill stuff too?
They do. Bolter drill by itself is a stratagem that's not great. But again, I think this is a great rule for Crimson Fists because you're going to see small squads that get more shots at longer range.
Yeah.
And better hits. So that's great. Yeah.
Let's talk about some unintended consequences.
Sure.
Just real briefly.
So we talk. Well, the big unintended consequences I think are that the Fragstorm launcher is no good, and that the Intercessor's other 2 weapons are hit.
I think the auto bolt rifle and the stalker pattern really got hurt by this rule.
They did. Scouts, which are already a really good unit, because they're cheap, got better, and the role that they play.
I think another unintended consequence is that Scouts actually went up in our book, and they were already better. In most cases, you want to run Scouts instead of attack Marines anyway.
Assault Marines got even worse, I guess.
Assault Marines did get worse.
But they already sucked. But, real quickly, let's talk about this in the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah.
This is a weird thing to put out in a vacuum.
It is.
It's very weird for Games Workshop to say, here is a rework of a basic thing just by itself.
Hey
I mean,
guys,
we know it's in a White Dwarf, but is it with other things?
It's a random Monday. Have a rule.
Have a rule.
That's not something that they do typically.
Right.
This isn't part of a chapter approved. I guess it was going to be part of the White Dwarf, but
is it just by itself in the White Dwarf? I'm not entirely certain.
We're not sure yet, because that's for the February White Dwarf. There's supposed to be more information about the design decisions and information about it in February. And
it's a beta rule. So even in the White Dwarf, it's going to be a beta rule, right?
Right, exactly.
So what's it coming out finally as? So there's a couple options to me. One, and I think this is probably the most likely, in my opinion, is part of a new Space Marine book.
We've been speculating that for a while.
Right.
That, it feels like it's going to be, it's about time. And it makes sense, too, because with this beta rule, you do need to do a points adjustment on the bolt rifles.
And it makes a lot more sense if they're going to tweak some of the other options too.
Right, because that would go in tangent with those.
So either a new Space Marine book or a new Cast Space Marine book. Both of these have been hinted at, right? We've heard a lot of rumors that a new Space Marine book is coming early this year, in fact.
Like a Black Legion Chaos book, too?
Some kind of Black Legion or a new Chaos book coming out
for children.
With Vigilus has been. There's a lot. There's stuff. There's a lot of new models and stuff coming out. So this would be a good thing to test or get out early and then put it into one of those books. It could be something to do with ninth edition. That's a little more far fetched.
I feel like that one's pretty out there, just because. Well, I mean. We haven't got the sisters yet.
Sure, but
as soon as we get them, then 9th edition. We know that it's usually 3 weeks later.
Yeah,
the harbingers of an edition.
That's edition, or it's possibly some kind of bigger rework in the big FAQ coming out this year, where they're going to do a few more things like this for different factions.
Yeah. That's where I would have expected to see the Bolter beta rule.
But it's weird even in FAQ, because the FAQ. Right, it's a little weirder.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where they've been putting some of the beta rules. But
if you think about it too, a lot of the FAQ stuff comes out as testing grounds or tweaks for the FAQ. It's really not FAQ at that point.
It's an errata.
And chapter approved is where they do all the points and changes.
But this is a major change to many factions.
Yeah.
And it's weird to see it out on its own, devoid of context.
Yeah.
Because as we pointed out, even just our initial look, this throws internal balance off, and all kinds of things. So
for sure,
to me, it makes the most sense is that this is coming as part of a new Space Marine book that's going to rework stuff, add in new Primaris units. Maybe it's the Codex Indominus Crusade, Codex Primaris, Codex whatever.
Codex Primaris,
and it would make sense because they're putting out some new
Codex Black Legion.
Well, yeah, and yes, but it would also make sense because they're getting the Crimson Fist rules in a White Dwarf, right? So they're putting out a few more chapter rules specific, which to bring those all together with something like this into a new book could make sense.
Yeah, we talked about too about. I'm still conflicted about getting White Dwarf rules. Rules in White Dwarf specifically.
Sure.
Just because if you don't buy that issue, then how do you find out about those rules?
Right.
And also adds to the stack of books that you'd have to bring to official tournament play or whatever. But that's beside the point. I do like the fact that this is addressing an issue with TAC Marines or Bolter Marines in general, saying, hey, we know that there's a problem with them and we're working on it. We want your feedback. So above everything else we've said about the Bolter change, the Bolter discipline rule, this is a beta. They want your feedback.
Yep.
So please play it a couple times before you just set them. Blah blah blah. I hate it or I love it.
And it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think LVO will use them because it's pretty soon, but it'll be interesting to see if things like Adepticon and some of the other major events decide to use this because, again, this is a beta rule. It's not in an FAQ or anything.
You know what's funny about it, too, is it fixes... It's an attempt to fix bolters, but it wasn't like the Battle Brothers fix or the Rule of 3 fix where, like, this was designed to fix something in tournament play that was wrong with the game system in general.
Right.
This is a fix that's designed to help with bolters or a specific thing.
This is why it feels weird and different to me because it's not, again, this is not a core mechanic change.
Right.
Nor is it this one particular unit, which we've seen with like commissars and a few units where they're like, this unit is broken or...
Right. It's not like that. It's not that those units were completely broken.
This is a very wide change. It's not game wide, but it is several factions wide. And addressing a specific part of them, but not even just bolt rifle or bolter. It affects several different types of weapons that share common characteristics.
Yeah.
Again,
I think it's overall. I think it's a good step in the right direction. There are some unforeseen consequences we've talked about here, but there's always going to be like that whenever you tweak something. I want to give it a shot. I want to try it out with just to see. I want to see it in game. I want to play around with this before we come out and say one way or the other, yes, we're in favor of it, or no, we're in favor of it. I think this is going to be a case of, we're in favor of it, but we would also like to see some other tweaks to take it in aggregate to fix the bolter issue.
I agree, and I mean, I'm torn because I do also think that bolters need a fix.
Yes,
I don't, or something, or Marines in general.
I think that
I don't know if this is the fix because it feels kind of just. It's a very 8th edition fix to me. It's just give them more, let them shoot twice. That's the fix that like everything in 8th edition has had, right? Like battle cannons aren't good enough on Lehman Russes. Let them shoot twice. Berserkers don't get enough attacks. Let them fight twice. Like that's.
Maybe they're thinking, hey, it's been working so far.
I mean, I guess, like, Yannari aren't good enough, let them shoot twice.
Okay, maybe they did.
Right? Maybe it's a very, to me, that's a very 8th edition answer is rather than changing any of the underlying things, just let them do this thing more.
I also think it's upping the lethality yet again. Like, we've seen stuff in 8th edition be very killy. And it just keeps getting killier.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah.
And that's the problem. It's like bolters started to get worse, partially because they lost any AP, but also because not that they got worse, is that everything else got more killy or many things. The overall lethality of the game outstripped what bolters could put out because they weren't evolving as fast. So this is just make bolters more lethal by giving them more shots,
more bullets.
Yeah, more bullets.
Yeah. So that's pretty much everything for the bolters. Let's see if we can flag down JR if he's in the studio. We'll go pick him up. But while we're tracking him down, any final thoughts, Abe? I think we covered it. I think we nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Bolted it.
I got into a little argument with his friends of mine. I was joking with him, and I was like, bolters are basically grenade launchers.
Sure.
Right? But they're rocket grenade launchers versus... And then we got into the whole thing about trajectories of, like, thump grenade launchers versus, like, rockets or straight line or more...
So, Adam pointed out the hilarious thing to me, also about grenade launchers. So, the bolt... You can get a grenade launcher for the intercessors.
The auxiliary grenade launcher.
Yeah, which gives their grenade a 30-inch range.
Yeah.
And then there is the
long bomb
stratagem from the new Urban Conquest. Well, it's actually from the Cities of Death rules.
They reprinted them in Urban.
Which, if you have height advantage, it doubles the range of your grenade, which is normally going from 6 to 8 to 12
or like
inches.
8 to 16 inches or something like that.
With the short grenades, but in this case, it doubles you from 30 to 60-inch ranges, which. Yeah. Is kind of ridiculous. But it's a grenade attack. 60-inch grenade attack. I mean, who cares?
And also, we also discovered there are some very specific rules to height advantage.
Yep, which
is good because they clarified that. But anyway, JR is in the house and he's here to talk about some D&D.
Woo! Are they Dungeons or Dragons today?
They are in fact Dungeons and also Dragons.
What?
Today. Yeah.
Both.
Yes, specifically, and I've got the Art and Arcana book because it's yet one more thing that has been announced, but there's no physical evidence of it yet.
But this is a great book, by the way. If you don't have it, you should get it.
It condenses more than
hours.
Yeah, 40 years of D&D history into one single book.
And it doesn't take you 40 years to enjoy.
It does not. I mean, it might. Depends on how slowly
you could enjoy it for 40 years.
But it won't take you 40 years to enjoy it to the fullest.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. So today, we're talking about the latest announcement from Wizards of the Coast, which came late Friday or early Friday.
Yeah, they're pumping out announcements this year.
They are. They really are. Another unexpected product is coming out this summer. In 2019, they have teamed up with the folks at Penny Arcade, who run Acquisitions Incorporated, which is a popular D&D podcast, live stream, well, mostly live show these days. You can find it at any of the Penny Arcade expos that you might go to. You can find the members of either crew, because there's the original branch and then there's the C team playing it. It's a lot of fun. Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford, D&D DMs to the stars, run the games. It's a blast. But they
I want that job. I want that on my business card.
Right?
DM to the stars.
But they have teamed up with Wizards of the Coast to create the Acquisitions Incorporated Dungeon Manual.
Yeah.
Which is a book that will give adventurers across Faerun all the rules and guidelines they need to open their own franchise of Acquisitions Incorporated, which is nominally an adventuring guild and or company.
Yeah.
Which cares about its employees and loves to find artifacts and other treasures and things like that.
Are they employees or are they independent contractors?
Well, it all depends, really.
Because if they're independent contractors, as we know, you can get rid of every law that ever.
Pretty much.
Do whatever you want.
I mean, there's no clause that deals with traps, extra fee included for rods because rods.
Rods. Rod Johnson.
Yeah. And of 7 parts?
Yeah. So question. This is an unexpected announcement. Unexpected supplement, which helps you form parties, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Right? Like this would affect your party, right?
Yes.
So does that mean it's an unexpected party?
Ooh. So you might have to be a burglar.
It's true.
Well, we don't know too much about it offhand, but we do know, for instance, that they'll be featuring new, I think, backgrounds and stuff like that.
Sure.
They're talking about the roles you would have in an Acquisitions Incorporated franchise. And there's a lot of talk about how they want to bring, the humor and the sort of, dark wit of their brand to D&D. So you can kind of get a little bit of levity and gallows humor mixed in with what you're going to be putting together.
Do you know how big the book's going to be or anything? Hardback?
Hardback, I think, and it's going to be a decent size.
So it's a real book. This isn't
it's not like a
little PDF with 20 pages or something.
No, I think it's a real book, and it's got some amazing art. We've seen some examples of it so far online. You can find them on our website where we talk about the announcement.
You have a website if you don't know.
In belloflostsouls.net. That's right. Yeah. The biggest thing I think that I want to mention is some of the roles that are in their company, including a documancer,
a D20,
a decisionist, a D20 as well.
It's an important role.
An obviator. There's. It just seems like an extra layer that you can apply over your D&D stuff. I don't know if it's going to be new classes or stuff that's technically homebrew. But what's interesting about it is this is the first official third-party D&D content,
right?
Because there's a lot of stuff out there that is 5th edition that's made by
really third party.
That's made by a third party. That's made by Kobold Press or I think Green Ronin has some 5th edition compatible products, but this is 5th edition, but D&D specifically. So they've said that they're excited to change their own to make their mark in their own little corner of the Forgotten Realms. So it sounds like it's in Faerun and stuff like that.
What's his face? Who's the author who does the Drizzt stuff?
Oh, Ed Greenwood.
Ed Greenwood?
Who does the Drizzt stuff? Oh, R.A. Salvatore.
Yeah, this has been he's going to have to work in Acquisitions team into his next dark and gritty Drizzt adventure.
Oh, that's kind of amazing.
Oh, they're canon now, boys.
Yep. I mean, it's been teased, I guess, sort of in the background for a while because there's an Adventurers League companion to the Storm King's Thunder that kind of has some Acquisitions Incorporated references. There's in something else that has gone out of my head.
Well, anyway, it's also just a cool idea as a game master or something for something to structure your campaign around.
Yeah.
Because one thing I think that a lot of game masters can struggle with, especially newer ones, is why the party's there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how did you guys get together? Why are you adventuring? Once the game gets going, there's, it's whatever. But especially at the beginning, like, what are you all doing here? Why did this random group of strangers go on an adventure?
Is it because someone that was sitting in a tavern said, hey, you should go?
Yeah, which oftentimes is what happens.
Right.
But giving them a framework, something like this, where you work for a company and have specific jobs, kind of thing, is a good way of structuring campaigns. And we don't know all the details, but that kind of idea.
Yeah, that kind of structure also lets you build more episodic content.
It definitely
too. So
does,
like you can have your Adventurers Guild, right? We're the 787 branch of Acquisitions Incorporated.
Yep.
Today we're going to go out there and look for the Rod of Seven Parts, or we're going to go out there and look for whatever artifact, and that's built in adventure. Everything that you need to know, you can bring as much character or as little character to that as you want, but it's simple, it's easy. Go find the thing, go bring it back. Probably have complications along the way.
Possibly.
It writes itself, basically. Yeah. And this kind of will have some extra humor and character that you can inject into your games along those lines.
Do we have a date for this?
Summer 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our D&D news. Anything else out there?
Not much. No, not yet. They're ramping up for more.
Right.
Again, late May will be the announcement of the next big campaign part moving forward, and then in a couple months here we'll see the new D&D Under the Sea. Yeah.
Under the Sea. Well, that wraps up our hour then. We are running out of time there. So thanks for watching the Bulls Tabletop Hour. I'm Abe.
I'm JR.
We'll be back next week, next Monday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Thanks for watching.
Have a great day.
Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.